Hello, this is Dr. Stanley Lang. Welcome to this broadcast, and the topic is humility and self-image. And I wanted to tell you a story about a patient that I saw today that illustrates something about humility that I think is helpful for all of us to think about for a moment. And when I saw this patient, I walked into the room and I noticed immediately that he didn't have any shoes on, and he was just wearing his socks, and his socks were worn out and his big toe was hanging out one of the socks. And I wondered for a moment, why is this patient sitting in the exam room with his shoes off? The shoes weren't even in the exam room. And then I realized that he's a farmer from a humble farm, and he undoubtedly had really muddy boots. And he probably had taken his boots off at the door, just as he would have done at home. And what struck me was that he treated our office with the same respect that he would treat his home. He didn't want to track his dirty footprints into our office. And a lot of patients will do that. They'll just tromp in with whatever's on their shoes, on their boots, and make a mess and not even apologize for it. This patient was very aware that he had messy boots, and he took them off at the door. And what struck me was that he was just aware of this, but I've known him for many years now, and he is a very humble man. And I just sort of knew in a second that that was what drove this decision to take his shoes off at the door of our office, and treating it with the same respect as he treated his home. And then came for the second part of the second, I guess, thing that spoke to me about this visit was it was a follow-up for his weight loss program, and he desperately needed to lose a lot of weight because of an increasingly bad back problem that he had. And he had successfully lost 20 pounds since the time that I just most recently seen him, and his face was glowing with joy and also with pride in his accomplishment. And so that's one of the things we want to talk about, the difference between humility and pride, and the difficulty that we have in understanding good pride versus bad pride. So normally we think of humility and pride as being opposites. And the problem in our society is we only have one word for pride, but it means a couple of different things. When we have a good self-image and we so-called take pride in doing a good job, that's actually a good thing. That's good self-image. When we're arrogant with whatever the circumstances are, that's the bad side of pride. And so some cultures actually have two different words for these two very different forms of what we call pride in our society. This person was celebrating his accomplishments, but not in an arrogant way. He was actually growing in a healthy self-image. And so healthy self-image is not pride in the negative sense. Healthy self-image is not the opposite of humility. Healthy self-image is a key to true humility, but arrogance is the opposite of humility. And so I want to encourage us and you. I want to encourage you to take a moment and think about how to grow in humility, because there is no question that humility is linked to joy. And if you want to have more joy in your life, growing in humility is one of the fastest ways to get there. But humility does not mean feeling bad about yourself or thinking badly about yourself. In fact, it means that you're going to grow in a good self-image, which means that you're going to be connected to God's impression of you. When we get closer and closer to the way that God sees us, we grow maximally in good self-image. And that's when our humility also grows the most. So at that point, we don't have to inflate ourselves and act like we're more than what we are, because we see ourselves clearly as who we are as we are connected in relationship with God. So I encourage you to take a step back. How can you grow in good self-image, which is the path to humility, and experience the joy that this person had in his legitimate accomplishment of losing 20 pounds in the last visit, but also the way that sort of filters through all of the actions that we do without even thinking about it. And so the way that filters through this man's actions is he took his boots off, his dirty boots off at the door of our office so that he wouldn't soil our floor. So I wish you well, God's blessings, and have a great day.